Today is pretty special because it is the winter solstice. So with the way that the earth is tilted, and I promise you I won't go into my whole little lesson there, but there is a 23.5 degree tilt of the earth. And this is when it is tilted the furthest away from the sun. So it is the longest, darkest day of the year or time for us. But that also means that from now on, we're going to be having more light. And what's better time for it to be than right before Christmas? Because we do know that with Christmas is the promise and the light that we have true joy. So we're going to have a yin class with this. And so with this, you're going to want to find some props, blankets, bolsters, towels, blocks, pillows, you name it. We're just going to start off in just a nice, simple seated position, just setting your intention if you like. We're going to get a little bit of motion to our bodies. So if you want, you can either place your hands on top of your thighs, you can place your hands on top of your ankles, and just kind of draw some big circles, kind of like feeling ourselves. So tonight is when Saturn and Jupiter aligns up. So Saturn is known for its big rings. So if you want to pretend your Saturn rings, you can. And then just feel yourself as maybe perhaps as you're inhaling, as you're coming forward, as you exhale, going away. And then feel free to go into the opposite direction. Yes, planets don't normally do that, but we will in this case. And so in yin, we will be holding poses for a pretty long time. But it's really important for us to really stay connected to our own body and our own awareness. So in this case, we're going to start off in a nice, comfortable caterpillar, not very comfortable, but caterpillar pose. So I'm going to show you from the side and then also from the front. So caterpillar is when we're sitting here, we're kind of going into a forward fold. Now, having said that, that's very uncomfortable. So first of all, if you feel like you're really tight or if you have sciatica, I'd highly recommend putting some blankets underneath you to lift yourself up. But the other thing you may want to do is place your hands behind you, press forward, and then maybe perhaps going bending forward. Couple options for props and such. You may want to grab some blocks, put it underneath so that your forearms can be resting on it. You may even want to have a bolster of some sort so that maybe your forehead's resting on it. Because what happens is we tend to feel like from an achievement standpoint, from a yang standpoint, like we got to get our forehead to touch our toes, which is not going to happen. Well, maybe for some of you, but it's not going to happen for me. And so for us to just allow ourselves to release into the pose is what we want to do. So if you want, feel free to grab your props. And then the one thing you may notice that I'm doing for today's class is I actually have a blanket underneath me because besides my mat, my floor is the bamboo flooring, and so it tends to be a little bit cooler. And so later on, when we're in Shavasana, it's going to be a little bit colder. So I have a blanket down there just to help keep it a little bit warm later on. So what I'm trying to demonstrate is find whatever feels most comfortable. Sometimes for people, it feels like your shoulders kind of rolling forward. So if you want, you can actually have it here first. You don't even have to have something for you to make contact to. It's just for some, makes it a little bit more restorative in that sense. Others may want to actually have a bolster against their forehead if that feels good for them. Kind of hit your third eye. But most importantly is, can you find an area where you're relaxing your muscles? So for yin yoga, the purpose behind it is to allow us to stress the fascia tissues, the ligaments, the cartilage, those joints, but also to stimulate the various different meridian lines that run through our body. So a lot of yin, actually, yin is based off of traditional Chinese medicine where they're working on the qi, which, you know, in the other yoga piece to it, we always talk about the prana, the energy life force. But in traditional Chinese medicine, they use qi, the energy, the flow through the body. And so different results, maybe different emotions we may discover maybe in health could be based on blockages in those meridians. So as you find a position, this is where the whole meditation, you learn to let go. You may even prefer closing your eyes. And in yin, we always talk about finding your edge, finding that spot, that place where you're at that slight discomfort, no pain. You definitely don't want any pain. So if you ever sense any numbness, tingling, sharp shooting pain, or that's your body giving you a signal to back out of it. But there's that discomfort where you're like, it's that stretch. Knowing the difference between your physical signals versus your mental signal. And as your body becomes more aware of what it may be asked to do in terms of surrendering, you may discover that you can go further, but then you allow the body to choose that, not your mind trying to convince it to do it. This is called caterpillar. And in this winter solstice, there's this also belief of this transformation going from darkness to light. So just imagine here you are, a caterpillar inside a cocoon. As we head toward the end of the year, you may be able to reflect on how 2020 was for you. You're going to slowly start coming back up. If you did have a prop, you may want to slightly move it a little bit out of your way. Place your hands behind you. Lean back a little bit. Oh, your lower back probably feels a lot better that way. Bend your knees. And just windshield wiper them. Bring both knees over to your right side. You can even lean over onto your right hip slightly. Inhale to center and exhale it all the way over to your left side. Inhale back to center. Exhale it to your right side. Inhale back to center. Exhale to your left. All right, let's cross our ankles. We're going to get into our tabletop and do some cat-cows, just because it's great to get some motion. So knees directly underneath your hips, your hands to your wrists are directly underneath your shoulders, shoulder width apart. Index finger to the top. As you inhale, just drop your belly down. Bring your gaze upward toward heaven. As you exhale, arch your back upward, dropping your tailbone down, tucking your chin in for your cat. Inhale, back to cow. Exhale, back into cat. Inhale, back to cow. Exhale, back to cat. Inhale, back to neutral. We're going to bring our right foot forward. So as you bring your right foot forward, we're going to get into our dragon pose. So it almost looks like a low lunge. So again, you may want to have some props by your hands, maybe even a bolster. So whatever is going to help you, because you don't want to go too deep. So this is going to be for your hip flexors as well as a bunch of other meridians. So your left knee is grounded. So a couple options. For some people, maybe the knee needs to be padded, so you can always place some blanket underneath there. You can make the little donut with the towel. So if you have like a small little hand towel of some sort, you just kind of fold it up several times. Double it this way, double it again, and then take your hand, just make a little, wrap it around that fist. And then you have that little circle, and so your patella, that kneecap area, gets to like go in between the hole, the donut hole, and the rest of the horse around there. So that's another option. The other thing is sometimes for people, maybe their ankle or their shins bothers them. So you could always place a towel or a pillow or something underneath your shin or even your ankle. So yogi's choice. Let me do my block. So I tend to like, even though I tend to have very flexible hips, I tend to like to go really slowly on these. So you can choose. If you prefer, some people actually like to have their hands directly on top of their bent knee thighs. Keep it that way. So it must be exciting to be able to have some more sunlight. So usually for yin, we do stay in these poses for several minutes. So again, when we find our edge, you don't want to go to the deepest first, find it, and then as those fascia and those ligament joints start opening up and relaxing, then you may be able to go deeper. That's when you find that area. So almost like being by the side of a lake, find a nice stillness, and nice and calm. You don't want these different emotions to be, nerve endings screaming at you, saying like, what are you doing? So in this case, you're just listening carefully. Now in these dragon poses, you may be feeling some different emotions bubbling up. This really affects, this pose actually affects a lot of different meridians. It affects both the heart and the small intestine meridian, in addition to our lungs. and the large intestine. So we hold a lot of emotions in our hips. And so if you're feeling some emotions bubbling up, that's okay. You don't want to squash it down. In fact, you want it to be released. If you prefer, you can always have your bent knee going onto the outer edge of that right foot, and that's called winged dragon. If you're feeling a little bit of heat, perhaps. One of the verses that came to mind for this was, "For the Lord God is a sun and shield. The Lord will give grace and glory." All right, let's slowly walk your hands underneath your shoulders. So if you have props, be very mindful of your knees as you come. Place your hands underneath your shoulders. Start leaning back so that your back leg becomes more of a 90 degrees at the hips, and then bring your right foot back into that tabletop. Now placing your hands slightly ahead, walk it up a little bit. We're just going to draw big circles, kind of big circles again. Saturn ring. And I'm hearing a lot of things popping in my body joints. And then go in the other direction, just to get some blood circulation back in there. Beautiful. Now we're going to get ready to go onto the left side. So if you're in tabletop, just bring your left foot forward. You want to do the same thing for your right knee if you want it padded, or maybe perhaps something underneath the right shin or ankles. And then if you want to, you can always place your hands along your left bent thighs, or on props, or directly onto the floor. But what you'll notice is as you bring your body down toward the earth, you're feeling your hips, your left hip, really being squeezed there. So you're really stimulating some of those meridians. As we're also stretching our right hip flexor. We're really working a bunch of different areas. Now in yin yoga, there isn't a particular type of pranayama or breathing technique that you're supposed to be doing. However, what a lot of people like to do, especially because you're in poses like this is yin yoga tends to be tied very closely with meditation. So for meditation, a lot of times people like to just follow their breath. So you could always just follow your breath. And in positions like this, you may want to imagine the breath coming up through your extended right toes, coming up that leg, going up along the right side of your body, up to the crown of your head. And then perhaps during your exhale, coming down along the left side, your head and the back of your shoulders, down toward your left hips and down toward your foot. So you can always create your own little game. And you may discover how one side is very different than the other side. See if you can allow anything to just release from your body. See if you can relax your jaw muscles, perhaps in your shoulders. Okay, we're going to slowly come back. Place your hands underneath your shoulders. If you have any props that you were using, you might want to kind of slightly move it out of the way. Bring your hips back toward your right knee plane, and then bring your left foot back into your tabletops. You're going to draw those circles again. So be very mindful, be very gentle. Remember, they've been in position, so you don't want to go very far with the rotation. Just allow a little bit of motion along your knees and then also your hips. And then go in the opposite direction. And a great way, this will feel good for your lower back, is to go into child's pose. So as you slightly bring your hips down toward your heels, you can always place some like a towel or a blanket underneath above your shin and lean there. And if you prefer, also you can place a bolster or some sort underneath your chest, or have it across from your arms so you can kind of reach over. If your shoulders feels a little scrunched, you can always bring it to the width of your mat. Couple breaths here. Extend our arms straight in front of us, lean back up. We're in that tabletop. Now what's going to happen here is you're going to do melting heart, really good for a heart meridian, of course, but also the lung. So it's melting heart is very similar to the yang version of puppy pose. So you kind of slightly walk your hands slightly up some, and then keeping your hips still over your knees, You're gonna just slowly start dropping your heart down toward the floor, so you're melting it down toward earth. Now, if you do have neck issues, be mindful that you don't try to scrunch all the way down. I would personally suggest that you keep your forehead towards something, maybe use a prop and leave it slightly higher. Definitely do not have where your chin touches the floor. A lot of times people have their chin touch the floor, but for me, I always use my forehead. You can also place a bolster of some sort underneath your chest to help provide a little bit more support. So this really provides a little bit of a back bend to the mid and upper back. If you're feeling a stretch along your arms, that's really showing that you're stimulating the heart meridian. You're going to slowly put some pressure into your hands, lift your forehead or your chin or whatever off the ground. Walk your hands underneath your shoulders. Now have your hands at the width of your mat, but in the same plane as your shoulders. We're gonna just do a little bit of dip. So you're gonna dip, placing your right shoulders toward the middle between where your hands are. So you kind of dip it in. Inhale back up. Exhale it, dip your left shoulder in. Inhale back up. Exhale your right shoulder in. Inhale back up. Exhale your left shoulder in. Inhale back up. Excellent. Now let's get onto our hips. And do real quick some pranayama here. So the perfect time, especially for the winter solstice or any time that we're doing some changes, is the balancing breath. So our nadi shodhi, the alternate nostril breathing. So find yourself in a nice, comfortable seated position. If you want, you can of course use some type of blanket or a towel to sit on top of. But with nadi shodhi, my goodness, alternate nostril breathing, you're going to use your right hand. So you can always place your left hand just on your thighs, or if you want, you can just place it on top of your belly. But we're going to be breathing in through our left nostril and then exhaling out our right, then inhaling through our right nostril and exhaling out our left. So we're going to be blocking off the one that we're not inhaling through. And then obviously keeping the one that we're going to exhale out of, we're going to release that one. So what you're going to do is you're going to have your thumb be using it against your right nostril. Your other two fingers, your index finger and your middle finger, are going to be either just staying there or placing it on your third eye, the spot between your eyebrows. And then you're going to actually use your ring finger to be the one that's going to be up against your left nostril. So in this case, just inhale through your nose here. Exhale, out breath. Now placing your thumb against your right nostril, press against it. Inhale through your left nostril. Hold, close your left nostril with your ring finger. Open up your thumb. Exhale through your right nostril. Inhale through your right nostril. Close with your thumb. Open your ring finger. Exhale through your left nostril. Inhale through your left. Close, open up your right nostril. Exhale through your right. Inhale through your right. Close. Exhale through your left. See if you close your eyes and continue on your own. Your left side of your body is considered the yin side. The right side is considered yang side. So the cooling is the yin side, the left side. The yang is the sun, is the masculine, the warming side. And when you're done with your full breath cycle there, then you release your hand. Hopefully you can feel now that maybe it's clear on both sides. Normally, you probably have one side that's a little more stuffed than the other side, and that changes throughout the day. So it's a good way to kind of check in to see if both sides has been activated, at least during the day. So this is a great way for us to balance it out. Sometimes you have to like use a tissue or something afterwards. All right, so let's get ready. So as you have some props, you might want to have some props close by. We're gonna get into some positions where we're gonna go onto our back. So we're gonna go into a bridge pose, but then you're gonna want to have some type of block, or if you don't have blocks, you can always use books of some sort, or maybe a couple pillows. Okay, so we're gonna gently get onto our back. And so as your knees are bent, your feet are hip width apart, but you want to come kind of close to your hips so that if you were to reach down with your hands, you kind of can try to, you might not actually touch it, but you kind of can sense that is down in that area. So just imagine that you have your block between your thighs, but you don't really need to use it in this case because you're going to need those blocks later on underneath your hips. So again, you might want to make sure that the block is within hand reach away. So your arms are right down by your side, palms toward the floor, and your gaze is going to be up toward heaven. Slight little tuck of the chins just to help elongate your neck. And then I'd like for you to just kind of roll your lower back to make contact to the floor. And as you're tilting your pelvic upward, start lifting your hips up off the ground, getting onto your shoulders, keep your gaze still up. And as you exhale, slowly bring it back down, starting from the top of your vertebrae. So we're doing this a little bit of yang, a little bit of flow. Inhale, bring it back up. Exhale it back down. Now this time, third one's the charm. So as you inhale it back up, we're gonna hold it. So really feeling your shoulder blades, those angel wings being tucked underneath. Your knees are going away from you. You may want to grab that block, so don't turn your head. So again, your gaze is still staying up toward heaven. You may want to grab your block and place it underneath your sacrum, that triangular flat spot. And then once it's there, you may want to allow your hips to just rest on it. So you may find a different level. So there's 3 different levels on a block. The lower flat spot, then there's a medium size, and then there's a really intense high spot. So even if, well, we'll find out. So again, remember, this is the yin, so you want to find your edge. You don't want to find the deepest edge or anything like that. So you can stay here. Feel yourself as your breath just allows the cycle. So with this being a supported bridge, you may discover that you may be able to go one level higher, but you notice how I had that almost in a, almost sounds like a question, because the other choices that you have is to now extend your legs. And this is where it's going to be really important for you to really listen to your body, especially the lower back. So as I was practicing this earlier, I found out that I could go to the second level normally during supported bridge, but as soon as I extended my legs, I felt it was a little too intense. So always listen to your body. You may discover that, hey, that might be fine for you, or you're like, I need to back down some, and that's completely fine. These are the times, during times of darkness, where we try to hide things in, but no, it's so important to shine light in terms of what's really a good way for us to stay safe. So if you are ready, you may decide to extend your right leg out and then your left leg out. And what you're going to feel is your hip flexors opens up, but you can also feel the arch of your back. So if that's okay for you, you can stay in that position. If it feels too intense, you can always bend your knees. The other option is just do one leg at a time. You may notice how that's not as bad when you do one at a time. Now, what I personally prefer doing with my arms during this time frame is, because I'm choosing the lower level, now actually having my palms face up to receive. And so my upper body, my shoulders, my chest is actually opened up as well. So as you stay in this position, in this pose, can you see if the pose is coming to your body, not the body's forced into the pose? And so what that means is, can you feel your gluteus maximus, maybe your butt cheeks relaxing some? If you notice that it's been holding on, gripping on, or maybe you're gripping your jaw, choose whatever way you want to do this. Maybe the blocks are too high. Maybe you might want to just have a towel or a pillow underneath your hips. We're just trying to stimulate, activate some of those meridian lines. Perhaps while we're in this pose, let's do another pranayama, another breathing technique. We're going to do 4 square breathing in many ways. It's a box breathing. So just follow my voice. You can keep your eyes closed. Your gaze or your direction is still up toward heaven. So as you inhale, 4, 3, 2, 1, hold your breath, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold, 4, 3, 2, 1. So go to your own square breathing. Perhaps while you're inhaling, you can actually feel some more light coming into your heart center, your heart space. I always imagine that area, that whole lung and the heart space, to be where my dwelling spot of where the Holy Spirit resides. You can return back into your normal breathing. And then we're going to bend your left knee, place your left foot onto the floor, bend your right knee, place your right foot on the floor. It's like, oh, you can probably feeling your lower back, make contact. Stay here a little bit. You can feel some blood circulation come back. Keep breathing normally. Now you may want to slightly lift your hips up just a little bit, just enough so that you can pull whatever prop you may have, and then slowly, again, come down one vertebrae at a time. It should feel really wonderful. Now, having your arms out as a T, bring your both knees over toward your left side. So your knees are stacked on top of each other, bring it over to your left side. Now stay, if it does not make contact to the floor, that's completely fine. You may even want to use one of your props, either your block or a bolster or whatever, to place it so that it makes contact, just to allow it to rest. This nice little spinal twist is doing lots of great stimulation to so many different meridian lines. If you want, you can even bring your gaze over to your right fingers. And as your arms are spread out wide, and feel perhaps this little bit of stimulation along the arms, the inner arms. It's where you're feeling in your heart meridian. Just seems so appropriate if you think about it, with Christmas being this week. Jesus came because of his love for us. And he would have expected that he would have his arms stretched out, heart meridian, also stimulating our lung meridians as well. So as he gasped his last breath on earth, it is so that we can have eternal life. Slowly bring our gaze back to center. If you had it turned to the side, bring your knees back to center. You may want to bring your knees up toward your body so you can hug your knees to your chest slightly and just draw some circles. Again, little rings around Saturn. Go draw in the opposite direction. And then when you're ready, you can place your arms back out to that cross and then drop both knees over toward the right side. So again, you do have the option, I can demonstrate this way now, that and closer toward the camera. So if, let's just say that your knee's not touching the floor, you can always place blocks. You can choose which height. And for some people, maybe their lower legs, for some reason, does reach it, but then meanwhile, they're like, you know what? You can even place a block or something in between your thighs. So again, you have the option, if you like, to bring your gaze over to your left fingertips, but that's just an option. It's a little bit more of a circle twist. Again, in yin, can you relax the muscles? By relaxing the muscles and staying in a pose that you're going to be static, you're telling you that it's safe. The muscles no longer need to do their job in protecting the joints, because you're allowing whatever prop or the earth to get its slight little stretch or its stress. And just sense with you in this position how you are able to breathe even deeper. And really fill up the lungs, maybe perhaps even feel your belly rising. And bring your gaze back to center. Inhale, exhale your knees back to center. You want to just windshield wiper, so just walk your feet out slightly away from each other. And then you can windshield wiper them, placing both knees toward your right. Inhale to center and exhale to your left. Keep going back and forth, what feels good to you. And then as you get back to center, I'd like for you to now place the soles of your feet toward each other. We're going to a Supta Baddha Konasana. So we're having our cobbler's pose. However, this may seem pretty intense. So again, you may opt to use blocks or pillows or blankets or something to place underneath your knees. So as they spread out into the butterfly, you may want to have a block there, or if you feel it was really intense to your lower back, again, you place some padding there. So as you're in this position, perhaps you might want to leave your right hand on top of your belly, your left hand on top of your heart. And if you feel like by doing that your shoulders are kind of scrunched up, what you may want to do is place some blankets or towels underneath your elbows, kind of lifted up. That makes it a little bit more accessible to see what makes it more comfortable in that sense. Now, if you remember, we started off this practice in caterpillar. And as we talk about transformation, we're ending here in a butterfly position. Knowing that the transformation that we can be going through physically may come at different pace or different degrees for each person. So as you're laying here, perhaps with your eyes closed, find that calmness, that stillness from within. Even as you can feel your belly rising underneath your right hand. And perhaps you can even feel your left hand rising a little bit. Or at least you can feel your heartbeat beneath your left palm. So as winter solstice marks the time of leaving the darkness behind and heading on more into the light, I would love for this practice to show you that we can always be out of the darkness with the light of Jesus Christ, who came here to do just that. We're going to get into our final resting pose, Shavasana. And you may want to put something on that gets you a little bit to keep you warmer, because your body probably will drop down in temperature a little bit more. And if you like, find what makes it most comfortable. So if you like, you could put a bolster underneath your knees. You may want to put a pillow underneath your head, or at least a cervical roll by rolling up a blanket. You may even want to put some blankets over your body instead. So find what feels good. And even if you have an eye pillow, you may want to place an eye pillow over you. So if your feet or if your knees are over a bolster, try to see if you can have a position so that your feet or your heel makes contact with something, so it's not just floating up in the air, because then your mind is going to always be trying to figure out like where is the bottom. So you can always put another pillow underneath your heels. And tuck your angel wings underneath your shoulders. You want to have your palms facing upward. Being receptive. And just feel your body just relax. Allow the earth's gravity just pull everything downward. Feel as your breath deepens. Perhaps feel your jaw relax. And you sense your breath lengthening. As your feet, ankles, your legs melt into what's supporting it. You feel even your thighs, knees, and hips. Receive their support beneath you as well. With each breath, can you feel your stomach just rising fully? Lungs, your heart space just expanding with that beautiful love breath. Can you feel it spread throughout your body? Really focus on that. So as you inhale again, feeling this light coming from that heart center. You can feel it growing through your body with that breath. And even with the exhale, you can feel it spreading down your hands, into your fingertips, down your legs, up your head, toward your space between your brow. Continue this breath. Nice, beautiful, light, pulsating light. You feel this light going even beyond your body. Continue breathing here, feeling this light. Continue to breathe, sensing the light. And hear these few truths. Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord rises upon you. See, darkness covers the earth, and thick darkness is over the peoples, but the Lord rises upon you, and his glory appears over you. Then you will look and be radiant, and your heart will throb and swell with joy. As you continue breathing here, you can just feel your heart throb and swell with joy as this light just seems to be pulsating throughout your body. And the sun will no more be your light by day, nor will the brightness of the moon shine on you, for the Lord will be your everlasting light, and your God will be your glory. Your sun will never set again, and your moon will wane no more. Lord will be your everlasting light. Your days of sorrow will end. We're going to bring some awareness back into your body. Maybe wiggle your fingers and your toes. Rotate your ankles and your wrists. If you want, you can inhale your arms over your head. Point your toes away from you. And as you exhale, bend your knees. Bring it up closer to your chest, or maybe kind of use your feet to push away any of the prop from underneath you. And roll over to your right side, staying in that fetal position. That fetal position, that child of God. And when you're ready, slowly and carefully press yourself up into a comfortable seated position, keeping your eyes closed. Crown and head still up toward heaven. Place your hands on top of your thighs, palms still in that receptive mode. Inhale through your nose. Exhale, out breath. Deep inhale here. Full exhale. Let's do one more full inhale. Nice, beautiful, cleansing exhale. Place your hands together, palm touching palm, thumb resting right above your heart. Allow your thumb knuckles to press against your heart center, tucking your chin down toward your heart. Know that for God, who said, "Let light shine out of darkness," made his light shine in our hearts to give us the light of the knowledge of the glory of God in the face of Christ. Deep inhale here, acknowledging that light. Namaste.